Platform party would please be seated. Good afternoon. Dr. Swanson, Dean Martin, department chairs and associate deans, honored faculty, deserving graduates to be, and esteemed guests. It is my honor to open the 2022 Swanson School of Engineering graduate commencement ceremony. I'd like to welcome you all to the inaugural ceremony that has been being held for just the school. Without delay, let us start the celebration of our master's and doctoral graduates. I welcome to the podium Dr. James Martin, Professor of Civil Engineering and U.S. Steel Dean of the Swanson School.
Thank you, Dr. Barker. Good afternoon. Let's try that again. Good afternoon. This is a great day. We haven't done this in a while, so we're going to celebrate this. So good to see all of you. Absolutely. So good afternoon and welcome. As in the words of the Grateful Dead, what a long, strange trip it's been. Right, but it's a good trip. Show of hands from all of you out there today, all of you graduates. How many of you started your studies in 2018? Show of hands. How many of you started your studies in 2019? How many of you started your studies in 2020? Okay. Those were truly a very interesting set of years. And if we start to look back in early 2020, as we headed in the winter break, we had faint news that was reported of a new virus starting out in China, and no one could have expected how this would have unfolded over the last more than 2 years. Our daily lives were upended. And I'm sure some of us asked ourselves, did we choose the correct path? Are we in the right profession? Will we be okay? Will our loved ones be okay? What will happen? But you know, we're engineers and we solve problems. It's our nature to solve problems. It's our profession. to not run from complex challenges. It's our profession to provide solutions, head-on solutions. This is the business we chose. It's a noble profession. True engineers are people and purpose centric. We develop solutions to improve the human conditions. And you know, there's something special about being at a university, whether you're studying engineering or some other profession. It's about the creation of new knowledge. And some of you master's students and all of you PhD students, as you graduate today, you have your thesis and or your dissertation for your PhD students. Completing that affirms that you're part of this new academy dedicated to lifelong learning. Think about it. You just made a unique contribution to new knowledge that's completely yours. That's special. You have the tools to provide impact. We need to use it. For us, the cultural competency that we create and enhance in our school will now be a part of your life as a Pitt engineer. And that's why when you see graduates from our school, our Pitt Engineering School, which has been here for a long, long time, they say it with pride, I'm a Pitt engineer. So I want to hear you graduates say those words, I'm a Pitt engineer, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's say it like we really mean it. Right? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now that's the Swanson way. So you're part of a global community of 30,000 alumni, and no matter where you are, what you're doing, you're a part of that amazing network, and the Swanson School will be here. Last year, we just celebrated 175 years as a school. That makes us one of the oldest engineering programs in the country. That's older than MIT, that's older than universities like Stanford, that's older than the university that is right next door. Okay, I'll think of it in a second. But this is nearly a 2 centuries, almost 200 years legacy of engineering that you inherit. Now, just like the world today is different than before the pandemic, your perspective should be too. So now as you finish graduate school and take your degrees and done your hoods, yeah, the future is different than we imagine it. In fact, the world has changed in the last 2 months. Our way of life, our opportunities and our freedoms, we can't take those for granted. But that's what the future is about. It's a place that is often different than we expect. As Shakespeare described it, the future is the undiscovered country. You're not the same people as you were when you started. Not the same people. If you maintain a focus on lifelong learning with a touch of childhood wonder and curiosity, you will continue to grow. And I would say that we need to maintain, first and foremost, for all of us here, a sense of gratitude to have the opportunity to do what we do for a living, and to have the opportunity to be here today, and to have the opportunity that you now have the toolkits to make a difference in so many people's lives. So I thank all of you for the dedication in these past few years. And I also want to take time to recognize all the families and friends here. Families, can you stand up for just a second? All the families and friends here, let's recognize what you do. We're all together and it takes all of us. So thank you all. Hail to Pitt.
Sorry, a couple of pages.
When planning 14 events for the same weekend across the university, there are bound to be some scheduling challenges. And this event overlaps a similar ceremony from the Katz School of Business. We wish to allow students graduating with a dual degree in engineering and business to be recognized at both ceremonies. At the recommendation of the faculty of the Swanson School of Engineering, I ask that the dual degree candidate for the Master of Science in Medical Product Engineering and Masters of Business Administration approach the stage to be recognized.
Master of Science in Engineering, Medical Product Engineering, and MBA. Anupama Shah.
All right, the rest of the graduates have seen the exit is to the rear, not down where there are no stairs. Excellent. All right. Facing similar timing challenges, both the chancellor and the provost have chosen to pre-record their addresses for each of the graduate commencement ceremonies across the schools this year. At this time, I welcome the address of Dr. Patrick Gallagher, Chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh.
Hello, everyone. As Chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh, it is my honor and privilege to welcome all of you, starting with our distinguished guests, family, and friends, to this commencement ceremony. I am so glad you're here today for this momentous occasion. But most of all, I'm incredibly proud to welcome the graduates of 2022. You have passed every test. You have fulfilled every requirement. Now all you need to do is make it through this ceremony. So hang in there just a little longer while we celebrate your accomplishments, and then finally, we will make your graduation from the University of Pittsburgh official. I want to stress that today's ceremony is a big deal, even for those of you trying to play it cool. Commencement can create a powerful mix of emotions. There's profound relief that you have reached such an important milestone, pride in what you have accomplished, and excitement for what lies ahead in your bright future. Whatever you are feeling today, I hope that you will take a moment to reflect on the people and the places that have played such important roles in the past few years of your lives. Today is the perfect time to think of and to thank all of those who have supported your success. Many of them are here today. They include mentors and colleagues, partners, friends, and family members, faculty, and staff. And they have supported you through challenging times. And today they're here to celebrate with you your many achievements. Now, as you become Pitt alumni, I hope that you remember that the university also takes special pride in you, our graduates. After all, your future successes are the best measure of our institution. So please remember that we will continue to be here for you. I am a living example of how Pitt can remain a big part of your life long after you've earned your advanced degree. I look forward to hearing about the many future successes of all of you, the graduates of 2022, and I sincerely hope that Pitt continues to be a big part of your lives. Best wishes, hail to Pitt, and now on with the ceremony.
So it's my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker today, our namesake, our hero, source of inspiration, Dr. John Swanson, who's here. John and I just had a brief lunch upstairs, and I was given explicit instructions. Jimmy, don't give me a really long introduction. I want to talk about some things that we want to do. And that just shows his human spirit. He's so humble as a professional, and as someone that we all look up to, that embodies what we want to be like. But I will spend just a minute or two telling you some of the highlights. John is the definition of a Pitt engineer. He's someone who solves problems that transforms the human condition. And all the students that have opportunities to spend time with John, I know that's a highlight for you and a highlight for him. We're glad that we're able to meet in person. again, but so much of his generosity and so much of what we've accomplished over the past decade or so in the reimagining of our home in Bennington Hall, many new program initiatives, student scholarships, named faculty chairs, so much more. We're thankful to John and his beneficence to us. But his life story also is very inspirational. So there's just 2 points, and I'll make it brief. As he finished his graduate work, he launched ANSYS, which is a simulations company. He did that in his garage. He worked for Westinghouse initially, and he noticed that there wasn't really good simulation software to do the types of analysis that engineers need to do. And so he started this company in his garage, which is now, of course, established all over the world. And so we know about his connection to ANSYS, but what we might not know about is his early work with Westinghouse, where he worked on a nuclear rocket engine on a concept to go to Mars. And I think that was around 1980 or so, somewhere in that range, 1960s, just 2 decades. But we were talking about, but the technology that he was developing, of course, that program was scrapped. But the technology that was being discussed there is now being discussed again for long-term interstellar space travel. The one thing I will say also before I leave to point out is because of his incredible vision, contributions, grit, innovation, he's been recognized as a member of the National Academy of Engineering and a recipient of the American Association of Engineering Societies John Fritz Medal, which is considered the highest award for the engineering profession. His more recent interest have been on the use of renewable energies, especially renewable energy as related to solar energy and electric vehicles. He's come and given a number of talks for us. He certainly sponsored the installation of solar panels on our building and facilities here. His house is instrumented with solar panels. He's recently moved from from Florida to North Carolina. And I understand the difference in the intensity already, because he's already done the engineering calculation of what it means to be there and harness solar power. But a fascinating, inspirational person that we're fortunate to have with him. So I'm going to give the balance of the time to our namesake, Dr. John Swanson. So John, welcome home.
I used to kid Mark Nordenberg because his introductions were longer than my talks. So I asked Jimmy to make sure that that didn't happen again. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. This is a time of transition. This is one of the biggest transitions in your lives. And so I thought to get a topic, I would talk about transitions. I'll use examples from my life because he's already introduced it. And that's what I know best. And it's easier to talk about it. First of all, transitions have 2 flavors. There are the voluntary ones. Those are ones that you have some influence over. And they're the involuntary ones. That's when you get hit by the bus. So we're not going to talk about the involuntary ones because there's nothing to say except I hope you survive. And well, that occurs to the voluntary ones as well. I hope you survive, and I'm sure you will. So let's start out. A transition is usually the result of a decision, maybe one or more decisions. What led you to be here? Well, first of all, you had to go to college. That was a decision. Now, in my case, it was not a decision because it was understood that I will go to college. No question. I was raised by a mother only because my father died in a traffic accident when I was 4 years old. She was a school teacher. And there was no question whatsoever that not only would we be students, we would be excellent students. One of the toughest parts of my life was 5th grade, where I'd moved to a new school and she was the teacher and I excelled. And you can imagine that that got a little bit of feedback from the rest of the student population. So there are 2 parts to the decision. There's information and there are people. And in the case of going to college, it was obviously people that made the decision. It was not a question of making a decision. It was just, you will go. And And it wasn't even that dramatic because I knew I was going and there was not a question. But where? Now we get into actual information feeding into a decision. First of all, we were poor. I didn't know it at the time, but we were really poor. My mother was a 5th grade teacher, raising 3 sons and on a teacher's salary. And even then, teacher salaries were small. So the college decision was New York State, because the state is cheaper than going out of state. Also, I think I was nearby and that made her more comfortable. So we ranked the schools. First of all, what class? And I had 2 choices. I take an aptitude test in high school, and my number 1 choice was, wait for it, law. Number 2 choice was engineering. Now, there is a reason for the law. I read every Perry Mason book there was. Earl Sandler Gardner was my hero, and I knew all the terminology, and I aced that test. But it was clear from my high school guidance counselor, my math teacher, and science teacher, all the same person. It was a small school. My graduating class was fairly large. We had 12. My older brothers 3 years earlier had the valedictorian, the salutatorian, and the class, and all 3 sat on the stage. So I'd ranked the colleges then. I said, well, I'd really like to go to Cornell, but that's expensive, even for in-state. RPI is a good school, and Clarkson. And those are ranked in order of price. Now, fortunately, that decision was made for me because I got a National Merit Scholarship and that covered everything anywhere. And off to Cornell I went. Now, at that time, believe it or not, Cornell was 5-year engineering school. The scholarship was 4 years. So one thing I have to thank is Cornell, who scrounged up another 1.5 years worth of money for me because I had none, of course, and they got me through. So in the course of my career, you'll see people that stepped up. And one of the reasons for my philanthropy, of course, is it's my turn. My turn to help you, just as others helped me. So I got through my graduate 4 years and another opportunity loomed. If you did our courses properly, like hard, you could get your master's in another half year. And being from a poor family, I was always looking for a bargain, and a half year extra for a master's struck me as being a real bargain. So I did that. And what did I do it in? Easy course, nuclear engineering. And that will come back to haunt us again as well. So I graduated in January of 1963, and there were not very many people in that particular cohort because it was 5.5 years and not many people did that. But I did graduate, and now we're getting to where you are. First job. I had 2 interviews. The first job interview was in Texas. It was an aerospace company, high-paying job, looked good, but there were a couple negatives that bothered me immensely that I didn't know they would, but they did. One was I had to share a ride to the interview with a PhD person who was also being interviewed. And when I got to the interview, the interviewee apologized that I had to share the cab with a black man. And I decided that I was not ready for Texas. And that was the end of that one. The second one, however, was much better. I stayed at the Webster Hall Hotel over here. I talked to the Westinghouse Research Labs, the Bettis Atomic Power Laboratory, and the Astronuclear Laboratory. Now, the Astronuclear Laboratory, as Jimmy said, was working on a nuclear rocket. And this was in the early 60s, mid 60s, and we were going to Mars in 1980. That didn't quite work out. So it became fairly clear that that was not the career job that was going to be my life's work. However, in that process, I discovered something called computer. Believe it or not, when I went to college, I never saw a computer. And that was not that long ago. I did take one course where on paper we programmed a computer to solve the A plus B plus C, A plus X squared plus B Y squared, sorry, quadratic equation, and with bits, in bit code. But fortunately at Westinghouse, they offered a course in something called Fortran. And I, being advanced learning and so on, I decided that obviously something I should do, so I did. And I loved it. I still remember the first error I made. You can ask me privately what that was. It was sort of embarrassing. But anyway, I learned Fortran. What I liked about programming was if you did it once, you could use it over and over again. Your productivity expanded dramatically because I was doing things on a desk calculator day after day, and I could just send another punch card into the computer and go off and do something else. So that will have an influence as we go through our career. So, anytime an opportunity comes to you, take it. It may not be obviously why you need it, but it gives you one more tool in your toolkit, and it may in fact change your life. And that, that little Fortran course probably did that. So, we didn't go to Mars in 1980. By 1970, it was pretty clear they weren't going to Mars in 1980. In fact, they were mothballing the project at that point. So at that point, I had to make another decision. What do I do with my life now that this part of my life is over? And no question, but a decision had to be made. It couldn't be postponed. So I had two choices. I could try to find a job that would pay me what I wanted to be paid to do what I wanted to do. I could get one out of two. But I knew I wanted to develop software for engineering. So I started my own company to do that. Now, people have said, that was gutsy, wasn't it? And no, it wasn't gutsy at all. I had 2 job offers in my pocket and a bunch of consulting contracts lined up. If I could last the first 2 months, I could make a go of it. And I did, and we did. So it wasn't a high risk. And interestingly enough, Westinghouse again. The job offers were from Westinghouse, and the consulting was from Westinghouse. So Westinghouse, even in the decline of the nuclear program, was a big influence, and the Pittsburgh area, of course. Now, one more thing Westinghouse did. When I was at Westinghouse for less than 6 months, my supervisor came to me and said, Westinghouse has a graduate program, can I put your name in? And not knowing any better or what was in, I said, sure, then we walked away. And a few months later, he came to me again and said, you're in. So for 3 years, three trimesters per year, 3 courses per trimester, I got a PhD from the University of Pittsburgh. Now, that was not without controversy, because at the time there was a little clause in the contract that said, if you're working in a related area, you don't have to do residence. So, even though I'm enamored of the school now, I knew very little about it, except it was awful hard to find a parking space at night. And that may still be true. But I did go through the grind. I had to do a dissertation, of course, and it was sort of legendary. I gave them a proposal, 8 pages. I came back 3 months later, said, okay, I'm done. When can I get a review? The secret, of course, was Fortran. I did a programming exercise, fairly elaborate, of course, but programming. I wrote all the graphic software to do it. It was great fun. And with 10 pages per night as a goal, I managed to grind out the dissertation. It did Westinghouse again. They printed 8 copies of it, bound it up, and I took it in and set it down on the desk and said, I'm ready. So now therein is my history with Pitt. I still don't know where all the buildings are. I didn't know where this building was, but well, fortunately I found out nobody else did either. So that I didn't feel too badly about that. So I started ANSYS. It was Swanson Analysis Systems Incorporated at the time, a misnomer because we only did one system, and that was ANSYS. But I had big dreams, but one was enough. Did very well. That's a whole story. I won't go into how ANSYS evolved, how it developed, how successful it was, why it was successful. It just worked. But it came a point many years later, about 25 years later, when it got too much. And at some point, you have to also learn to recognize your limits. And it wasn't too hard. When I had heart attack, it said, you better slow down. And then came one of the most difficult decisions of my life, and that was to give it up. There were many reasons for the difficulty, of course. We had a lot of engineers who spent a lot of time learning to use this software, And the last thing I ever want to do is pull the rug out from them and say, no, you've got to go use something else. I'm out of this business now. Fortunately, we found a procedure where we could continue it. The distributors, the employees all stayed on, all thrived, and I managed to also continue to live my life. So hard decision, but a very necessary decision. So then the question comes up, what do you do when you retire? And I struggled with that. I did consulting for ANSYS for 10 years, but that tapered off at the end and the lawyer bills got to be higher than the income. So I folded that. But I also had the opportunity to do a meeting in Palm Springs with the ASME. And they said, we'll meet on Sunday. I was on the board of trustees for the foundation. And I said, oh, great, I'll go fly into Phoenix and I'll drive up and it'll be fun. And they called me at the hotel in Phoenix, said, oh, the golf tournament is on Sunday. We're going to meet on Saturday, which meant I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to the meeting several miles away, several hundred miles away. But then on Saturday afternoon, I'm done. My flight out is on Tuesday. So I look around, I say, well, I've got a car road trip. And I went to Los Angeles, I went to Las Vegas, I did the whole Southwest. And everywhere I went was acres, acres of empty land and bright, bright sunshine. And I said to myself, you ought to be able to do something with this. And I discovered Google is a great research tool. Anything you want to know about almost anything, you can find on Google. So I would, in the evening, I would do research on all sorts of focal event things, everything. And I had a whole bunch of stuff that I thought, hey, this is probably pretty good. What do I do with it? And then the light bulb went off and I said, what's the use of having an engineering school if you can't use it? So I brought back to the Pitt Engineering School a whole series of renewable energy-based projects. And many of them were interesting. The students enjoyed them and they went off and got great jobs as well. So, and that was good. Now I've understood finally what retirement is. Retirement is when nobody pays you anymore. You can do pretty much what you want, but you're not going to make money at it. So bear that in mind. It's not bad, however. I've since got, as he pointed out, gotten interested in electric vehicles, and we'll see where that goes. But the point I want to leave you with is, if an opportunity comes along, even if you don't quite understand it, take it. Number two is, follow the opportunities wherever they lead you. Keep learning, keep developing new tools. They say Google was a new tool to me, maybe not be to you, but it was to me. And the final thought I'd like to leave you with, enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your life story, and thank you for the presence that you give everywhere you go. And certainly the life lessons are really important for all of us. And our skill set is exactly reflective of what he said. Lifelong learning, making sure we take those opportunities. And we usually need some help somewhere along the way. And our mission in life is to use that knowledge and give back, just as we've seen. So thank you so much for that. So at this point, I'd like to introduce the University of Pittsburgh's provost, Dr. Ann Cudd. And like the chancellor, because of other conflicting obligations, she has a previously recorded address for us to share. So if we could cue up the response from, or the message from our provost, Dr. Ann Cudd.
Hello, everyone. I am Provost Ann Cudd, and as the University of Pittsburgh's Chief Academic Officer, I am delighted to be able to share a few thoughts on this wonderful and celebratory occasion. Today marks a significant and joyous milestone in the lives of every graduating student present. To our graduates, this is really the day that you, your family members, and friends have made a reality. To our faculty members, this is the day that reflects your exceptional work in inspiring, promoting, and supporting the diligence and fine achievements of your students in the class of 2022. Truly, what we celebrate today is the essence of that educational synergy, one that, as a Pitt alum myself, I experienced firsthand as a graduate student. From individual accomplishments and accolades to deep commitment and leadership to better the Pitt community and the world, each member of the class of 2022 has excelled in exceptional and resilient ways. I mention resilience because these last 2 years have been so difficult. The pandemic has made us fearful, but also brave. What you have done would be amazing under any circumstances. However, during ongoing exceptional days, that work is even more remarkable and important. I am so proud of the ways our faculty and students have persevered. This day honors you all. Congratulations and hail to Pitt.
Thank you, Dr. Cudd.
As Associate Dean for Graduate Education, it is my privilege to invite those candidates recommended by the faculty of the Swanson School of Engineering for a master's degree in your respective disciplines to please rise and approach the stage to be individually recognized.
For the degree of Master of Science in Bioengineering, Medical Product Engineering, David Yao-Yan Chan. Anna Therese Zuricki. Maria Luisa Garrity. Lauren Elizabeth Grice. Alexander Charles Poirier. Griffin Monahan. Eric Alexander Perot. Rachel E. Roos. Michael Anthony Russo. Zachary Richard Seeger. Eli Sigmund. Muyun Zhao. For the degree of Master of Science in Chemical Engineering, Claiborne Douglas Countess. Jamie Lynn Mastro-Petro. For the degree of Master of Science in Civil Engineering, Mark Garger. Bethel Audenegus Mogus. Ananya Mukherjee. Sarah Elizabeth Patel. Lindsay Ryan. Isaiah Spencer Williams. For the degree of Master of Science in Electrical and Computer Engineering, Pushkar Mutta. Stephen Thomas Race. Brendan Lee Shapiro. Vivswan Shah. Yilin Wang. For the degree of Master of Science in Industrial Engineering. Alex John Fergelick. Francis Trutchman Meteor IV. Vigneshwar Pesaru. Sriram Raghupati. For the degree of Master of Science in Materials Science and Engineering. Jonathan Bryce Alban. Ryan Stephen Arblaster. Douglas Sungil Bay. Suraj Pran Sharma. Luis Philippe Simoes. For the degree of Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering. Julia Amy Orenzi. Rahul Anand Doreswamy. Joseph Thomas Gamber. Mark Joseph Migliozzi. Garrett Spencer Ott. Joseph John Shamlin. Ezekiel Thomas Villarreal. For the degree of Master of Science in Sustainable Engineering. Marissa May Labia.
Don't go anywhere. All right, I've completed the master's degrees. I now have the privilege to ask the PhD candidates, as recommended by the faculty of the Swanson School of Engineering, along with those faculty advisors able to join us today, to approach the stage that you may be individually recognized and hooded.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Bioengineering. Yashar Osi, advised by Dr. Helsi Torres Oviedo. Dissertation, Factors Modulating the Generalization of Human Locomotor Adaptation. Erin Michelle Filbert Grigsby. Aaron Michelle Filbert Grigsby, advised by Dr. Aaron Batista. The temporal structure of neural population activity and motor cortex. Ravi Vats, advised by Dr. Prithu Sund for the dissertation Circulating Neutrophil Extracellular Traps Promote Gasdermin D-Dependent Lung Injury in Sickle Cell Disease. With a degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Chemical Engineering, Ashley Chinicia Green, advised by Dr. Steve Little with a dissertation Engineering Formulations for the Treatment of Periodontal Disease. Peter Charles Kweku Lemaire III, advised by Dr. Robert Enoch for the dissertation High Pressure Solutions of C6F13 and C4F9 based polyfluoroacrylics in CO2. Synthesis, solubility, viscosity, and sealing of cement cracks. Rituja Bhagwant Patil, advised by Dr. James R. McCone for the dissertation, Earth Abundant Catalysts for Alkaline Hydrogen and Oxygen Electrochemistry. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Civil Engineering, Suhaib Al-Shayeb, advised by Dr. Alexander Stefanovich for the dissertation Environmental Performance Measures in Optimizing Traffic Signals for Fuel and Emissions Efficiency. Nemanja Dobrota, Nemanja Dobrota, advised by Dr. Alexander Stefanovich for the dissertation Enhancement of Traffic Signal Retiming Process using Novel Methods in Traffic Signal Performance Measures. Natalia Aquino de Carvalho, advised by Dr. Leanne Gilbertson for the dissertation Towards Rational and Sustainable Design of Graphic Carbon Nitride for Antibacterial Applications. Liu Yan Hu, advised by Dr. Shu Liang for the dissertation and investigation of interactions between plants and hydrological processes with emphasis on droughts using a new coupled eco-hydrological and biogeochemical model. Yao Huang, advised by Dr. Andrew Bunger for the for the dissertation title page analysis of sleeve fracturing and burst experiments for measurement of in situ stress and rock fracture toughness. Hoda Jalali, advised by Dr. Piervincenzo Rizzo for the dissertation applications of granular crystals for non-destructive evaluation, structural health monitoring, and mechanical wave control. Manochir Kazai, advised by Dr. Carla Ng for the dissertation investigating the impacts of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, on biological systems by complementary in vitro, in vivo, in vitro, and in silico approaches. Chao Lu, advised by Dr. Andrew Bunger, with the dissertation impact of weak interfaces and layered rock properties on hydraulic fracture containment and height growth. Elmira Mohammadi Shamlu, advised by Dr. Vikas Khanna, for the dissertation optimization-based analysis of desalination technologies for unconventional oil and gas produced water treatment. Yipei Wen, advised by Dr. Xu Liang, for the dissertation, a study of agricultural watershed health and sustainability using a new catchment seal hydrobiogeochemical model. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical and Computer Engineering, David Langerman, advised by Dr. Alan George, for the dissertation In Pursuit of Graph Analysis for Neural Network Performance Evaluation. Sébastien Sylvain Jean-Luc Olivier, advised by Dr. Alex K. Jones, for the dissertation, Enabling Reliable Processing in Memory Augmented Storage for Spintronic Domain Wall Memory through Transverse Read. Jinyi Zhang, advised by Dr. Jingtong Hu, for the dissertation Heterogeneous Model to Heterogeneous System Mapping with Computation and Communication Awareness. Zhenhui Zhang, advised by Dr. Irvin Sadich, for the dissertation Investigations of Video Fluoroscopy via Machine Learning, Novel Ways to Understand Swallowing Disorders. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Industrial Engineering, Mazen Saad Al-Ghamdi, advised by Dr. Ravi Shankar. For the dissertation, title page, Understanding Kinetics of Carbon Transport Across Length Scales at Diamond Transition Metal Interfaces. Anthony John Galante, advised by Dr. Paul Liu. For the dissertation, Durable Self-Cleaning Medical Fabric Coatings for Infectious Hazard Protection. Shadi Sanobar, advised by Doctors Lisa Malart and Dr. Oleg Prokopiev. For the dissertation, Temporal and Spatial Considerations in Maintenance Planning. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Materials Science and Engineering, Wei Tao Shan, advised by Dr. Guofeng Wang. For the dissertation, Theoretical Study of Metal Nitrogen Co-Doped Graphene Catalysts, Catalysts for Electrochemical Nitrogen Reduction Reaction. Yunhao Zhao, advised by Dr. Wei Xiong. For the dissertation, Microstructure Engineering during Heat Treatment of Iconel's 718 Superalloy processed by Laser Powder Bed Fusion. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Mechanical Engineering, Qian Chen, advised by Dr. Albert To. For the dissertation, Multi-Scale Process Modeling of Residual Deformation and Defect Formation for Laser Powder Bed Fusion Additive Manufacturing. Jacob Toman, advised by Dr. Marcus Schmilis. For the dissertation, Epitaxial Resolidification of Magnetic Shaped Memory Alloy Single Crystals under a Laser Heat Source and in Direct Laser Deposition.
We'll let everyone get seated here before we proceed with the part that we came for. While we're waiting, let's give another round of applause to everybody here. We're getting close. Okay, it's time for us to make this official. So I'd ask the platform party to please rise. So would all of the doctoral candidates please rise as you are able? Rise up. By the authority vested in me by our university's Board of Trustees, the Chancellor, the Provost, and upon the recommendation of your faculty of the Swanson School of Engineering, I am honored to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations. Please remain standing. Now, I ask all of you, all of the master's candidates, to please rise as you are able. By the authority vested in me by our university's Board of Trustees, the Chancellor, the Provost, and upon the recommendation of your faculty of the Swanson School of Engineering, I am honored to confer upon you the degree of Master of Engineering in your respective discipline, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
You may be seated as well. Let me add my congratulations to those of Dean Martin and the other members that are joining me on stage. Your hard work has paid off with a Pitt graduate degree and relationships that you will have as you begin the next stage in your career. I ask that our honored guests join the faculty in congratulating our PhD and MS graduates one more time on their accomplishments. For those that would like to continue the celebration, we have a reception that will immediately follow this ceremony in Benedum Hall 102. I invite you to join us for some refreshments. This brings to a close the 2022 Swanson School of Engineering graduate commencement ceremony. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and please remain seated while the faculty and students lead the recessional. Thank you.
you.